Hey everybody, and welcome to the Outdoor Chat. We come to you every weekday on outdoorchat.us and simulcast over on YouTube. We go over everything to be encountered in the great outdoors, including our outdoor adventures, critters, vehicles, and much more. We have hosts. We have Bob coming in from Canada today, our winter visitor.
Hey, glad to be here.
We have Pete coming in from Tucson.
Hey, thanks.
And I am Jimmy coming in from Apache Junction, but you could just call it the Phoenix Valley. So today, before we jump into anything, I figured let's talk a little bit about Bob. So, Bob, I don't know, you might give us a little background about yourself, I guess, getting into the podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically, I retired, well, I don't know, 4 years ago due to some problems with shoulders and heart. Nothing major, but enough that it brought on some chronic pain. I'd heard that down south, you get down in that dry weather in Arizona, it's supposed to be a lot better for you, which it is, I must say. But I've always liked going south. I've always liked the idea of going south. My parents used to do it years and years ago when they retired. So I always thought it was something I wanted to do. So once I had the opportunity, once I was retired, I decided why not. And I'd already met a few people down there from the firearms community. So I had people I kind of knew. So I was able to meet up with some of them. And yeah, next thing you know, I'm getting involved in well, I was doing a lot of YouTube stuff before I came down, but I got a lot more involved once I got down into the community. But I just found that it's beautiful down there. The people are super friendly, and yeah, I'm just basically your old retired Canadian snowbird. Not a super wealthy one, but I found that the cost of living is really reasonable down in Arizona. So yeah, that's what I do for the winters, and in the summers I just basically camp in northern Manitoba and northern Saskatchewan. Do a lot of fishing. So that's me.
Yeah, hopefully this year we'll be doing some more fishing when you're down here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You got your coming down since 15. You got your hunting license last year, right?
No, a year before, actually. I've had it 2 years now.
Oh, right on. So yeah, now this year you'll get a fishing license too, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Fishing license, hunting license. So yeah, it should be a pretty busy winter.
Sounds like you're pretty outdoorsy. I guess you could stay on the chat.
Yeah.
All right.
3 of our chat, right?
Yeah.
Yes, episode number 3. Just a baby.
Yeah, we're just a baby in the podcast community.
Some could say our podcast is still in the pod. So today is Wednesday. We will be talking about our adventures. Today it will be lures and tackles. We have our lake book of the day, and I believe our critter is fish. Ooh wee. And then we have.
Sorry, I cut you off again.
No, that's all good.
All right, well, we're kind of lakes, so we're starting off with fishing, lures, and tackle.
Let's see here. Yeah, lures and tackle. So you go over here to our website that we've been telling you guys about. I guess it would help if I was screen sharing. Outdoorchat.us. And we will be posting the podcasts over there. We will be posting everything we talk about the podcast over there. And today we go into our adventures and head over to fishing.
So we'll be building up the website as we do these episodes. So when we're talking about lures and tackle, we're talking about mostly freshwater stuff, although I know people in Tucson for sure. I'm guessing people in Phoenix as well. We'll head over to both California or Rocky Point in the Gulf of California down there in Mexico and do saltwater fishing for all kinds of different things. So quite a few people in Arizona have their head in the salt fishing world. But I'm guessing for this show, we're going to stick with freshwater tackle and lures.
Oh yeah, we can. I do actually have some of my in-laws are actually into that stuff. So, but we could stay the freshwater just since we're talking about, I guess, here for now.
Yeah, but in the future episodes and on the website for sure, we'll get into some of the guides because a lot of that is guided, and then and some of the fish, and then some of the stuff you use to catch them. and that's usually rented. But there are people that definitely invest in saltwater stuff even here in the desert.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Well,
I came to the Midwest, and I brought down lures that I was using in like Wisconsin and Minnesota to go fishing, and I'd used them elsewhere in the country, and they worked just fine, and they work pretty good down here. But I have tweaked them to more bass type of stuff for Arizona.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm gonna probably have to look into a little more. Is most of my fishing tackle is for our northern type fish, which are quite a bit larger in most cases than what you've got there in your rivers and your lakes. So, I mean, most of my tackle is going to be probably a little too heavy. So I'll have to look
In the rivers here, the fish are tiny. They're heavily. They're what do they call that when they put the fish in? They're what do they call that when they put the fish? They're stock. Yeah. So they don't even get a chance to really grow large anymore, if they ever did. And you definitely got to use tiny stuff for the lakes or the rivers. And in the lakes, there can be big fish. And if you're talking, what's that lake between us, at the Hoover Dam there? Havasu or whatever?
Mead?
Mead. If you're talking about the big lakes that are created by the big dams on the Colorado, that's a different story. They have bigger fish than we've got down here. But yeah, like Bob said, our fish are tiny down here compared to what you're probably used to in your real lakes up there. These aren't glacier lakes anymore. There's only two actual lakes in Arizona. All the rest of them are man-made.
Do the glaciers even make it to Arizona?
Maybe, but I think this was all, I don't know 100% of the geology, but I'm guessing this is the shallow oceans that the Gulf of California is the remnants of. More than glaciers.
Yeah.
But that's something we'll talk about in future shows, geology. And I don't know, we'll eventually see how the show goes. We're going to try to, we talked about having guests on. Maybe we'll go somewhere like that has answers to those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Something neat.
I'm sure there's fishing guides and stuff that we could talk to and, would be able to tell us, the ideal tackle. But I mean, if it's anywhere like it is everywhere else, there's stuff that works in this river. There's stuff that works in this lake that doesn't work in the next lake. You have to get to know that, or at least have someone who can give you some hints on what to use.
Yeah, and these are these are catch and release type of fish. I mean, some people will eat them, but for the most part, the what do you call them? The competitions, the fishing tournaments and stuff is all catch and release. So these fish have been caught more than once. So I'm guessing when a fish gets caught more than once, don't they start to figure out, hey, that's a lure, and they start looking for something new to trick them?
Yeah, they evolve a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, learn maybe. I don't know. Fish don't have very big brains, but. Yeah.
But I'd say if you're listening to this as someone who hasn't fished before and you're thinking about it, there are urban fishing permits, so you don't even have to go out into the deserts to fish. Most of the big lakes are right close to the big cities, but you can go to the urban lakes, which are right in town in both Phoenix and Tucson and some of the other cities, and just get an urban license and just basic stuff you can get at a big box store. Although we'd recommend going to a local place and asking them for a starter kit, and then probably $30 you get into fishing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Easily $30, yeah.
Well, especially if you don't have to buy super heavy gear.
No, not at all. Exactly. Since it's such light gear, you can go at almost the basics and still have a lot of fun. Actually, There's a lot said to going with gear that's lighter than the fish, so that it's actually a challenge, no matter how big the fish is. Just go into smaller stuff so that it's takes more of the fishing to get it into the boat than the gear.
Yeah, there's the catch and release is a different kind of fishing than generally stuff what I do, which is I'm out there to catch supper. So if I get a big one, I don't want to get in the way.
Well, that's it. Depends on where we go fishing too. There are places where it's just catch them, eat them.
As I'm saying, some lakes they're so small that it's not even worth the effort to cook them.
Minnows.
Just eat them raw because they're so small.
Like sardines, man.
All right.
So well, like Jimmy said, we've got the website and we've got a couple of sites. We'll talk about it in other shows. We've got the network of websites, and we'll go into the fishing and the lures and the tackle specifically, but all different elements of fishing. And as you explore it and you have questions, feel free to let us know at gearwebsites@gmail.com, or any of the social media platforms that you find our podcast on.
Speaking of which, I think usually we'll have a little break between our first and second segment, and I believe we should talk about that. Let me screen share again. So let's go into a little history of the outdoor chat, I guess. So this is the homepage, outdoorchat.us. And as Pete said, we're going to be working up the website here, adding the podcast in as we do, but you can get a brief synopsis about our podcast. You can join the Arizona community. And then obviously there's all of our our topics. We have our adventures here, wildlife, vehicles, and everything that we do outdoors.
Yeah, we've been doing it now for quite a while. We started building the website network in '97 with the original net websites when we were sitting around at AOL learning on Hot Dog. I think it was called Hot Dog Express, and building little places online to share pictures of the various lakes we were going fishing at. We would go out and have other adventures outdoors, share them with our friends back east who didn't, have the resources we've got to just, play around in on the weekends. And that grew. Eventually, we had other people ask us to build websites for them, and that grew into a whole business. And the whole while, we kept our outdoor sites going. We have Fish in AZ. We have Tucson Hunting. We've got lots of names out there. And we decided when we started to do this podcast that we would use outdoorchat.us. Originally, Outdoor Chat was a forum, just a kind of an old message board. You can see a picture of it if you go to the main page on Arizona Chat and just scroll down. You can see what it looked like back in the olden days when we first built it. And it was used about medium. There was definitely some large forums out there, and they had sections devoted to Arizona, and ours was kind of themed with Arizona and our adventures. And we had quite a couple hundreds of people using it. And over the years, we got into other things online, YouTube and stuff, and got into different topics online. So we just didn't do so much with the outdoor topics, and the site sort of went dormant and then dead for a while when servers changed and stuff. So as we'd been doing our other podcasts and we decided to delve into this Arizona podcast, we decided to use the outdoorchat.us as the domain name, and we're reviving it as this new incarnation of the podcast and our hub for all of our other websites. So like I said, when we start talking about these different topics, we'll send you out to the various websites where we'll have all the real research and stuff posted.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, it's on the...
That takes us into Roosevelt Lake.
All right.
I've only been there once and didn't get to do anything really. It was kind of like a family trip, and we just jumped around on the lake. Didn't really do any fishing or anything.
You been there yet, Bob?
No, I haven't actually. It's kind of one of the things. I don't know what happened last year, but I just never really got out to any of the lakes. Drove past a lot of them.
Well, this one is just east of Phoenix. So when you're looking at the state of Arizona, like on Google Maps, like I'm doing on the screen here, as you zoom in towards Phoenix, you see a couple of big chunks of blue, and one of them is actually a lake, and that's Roosevelt Lake. It's one of 3 or 4 lakes that dam up, I think, the Salt River. So the Salt River starts up in the mountains, and this whole green area is pretty much mountains. And then you get down, as you get closer to town, they just dammed up the river a couple of times. You got Canyon Lake, you've got Apache Lake, and then Roosevelt Lake. And it's pretty big. I've been in Arizona now since the early 90s. And when I was going to school, I did some archaeology classes, and we came out to Roosevelt Lake because they had just built or just completed a new dam there. They had a little dam, and they had built a much bigger dam. So as that lake was they were gonna allow it to fill now because the new dam existed. They knew that it was going to kill off, everything around the edge of the lake. And there was a couple of archaeology sites, and I don't remember exactly where they were, but they were somewhere over here to this side of the dam. And it was kind of interesting to go in and kind of do archaeological stuff and fast forward, because they literally had weeks or months, I think, before the anticipation of the dam filling up, compared to, it would normally take them decades, probably. I don't even know if they would have excavated all that stuff. So that was kind of neat. And so I've seen the dam, or the lake, excuse me, get a little bit bigger over the years. I've driven all around it before, here and there, just hunting and going fishing out there before. Most of the time we spend out there, though, is on the side of the lake and down in this side quite a bit. And there's huge catfish out here. So we've gone after those a few times, and then just going after the big bass. And there's some really neat places where the roads kind of come down over here and then around, and a couple places you can turn off and have all kinds of neat adventures on Roosevelt Lake. It's kind of a cool lake. Then you can get to the dam here, which is pretty scenic. Kind of neat place to see, and it's not anywhere near as crowded as like the Grand Canyon or anything. And then you got Apache Lake, which is, I guess we'll talk about that in other shows, but that's a whole nother thing, and it's all, obviously the same river.
It's interesting. How is the water though in it? Like, I mean, I hear the name Salt River, and I think, why did they name a river that? Like, was it salty? Does it run through a mineral deposits or something?
That's a good question. I wonder why they called it that.
I don't know. I know it was cold when I went there, so I don't know.
Cold.
I mean, the lake is not salt river or salt water or anything.
You said the lake was cold, Jimmy?
Freezing.
Yeah.
You'll have to come up and go swimming in some of our lakes.
And I just need to find a hot spring, really. But that'll move us on to, so that was Roosevelt Lake. That will move us on to our book of the day. So our book for Wednesday will be Pocket Guide to Fishing Knots. Something that, a lot of the younger people could learn nowadays, getting their knot skills in order and stuff like that. So thought it would be handy. Let's see. A little brief thing is, anyone who has spent time on the water knows that fishing success comes down to effective connections. The angler must first ensure the knot connections throughout the fishing line are sound and appropriate for the task at hand. A failed knot, a picture wind knot, tarpon leader, may have made a huge silver king pulls hit a fly, or a 7-pound bass pulls free because of a poorly tied attachment. Your crankbait will bring your otherwise happy day to a screeching halt and leave you muttering about what might have been. In the Pocket Guide to Fishing Knots, learn the knots of success and why the connections are recommended by the country's top anglers. So I figured that's something, a lot of people don't know.
That's kind of cool. One of the first things we were talking about, the history of outdoor chat, and one of the first things when I built the fishing website, one of the first things that I ever did was, I forget where I even saw it, but I saw something about a fishing knot thing about the size of a business card or a credit card that was had a couple of rivets. There was 3 pieces of plastic the size of a credit card. There was a couple of rivets in it so that you could kind of twist them apart from each other, so that, they would hold them together. They were tethered together with these rivets, but you could kind of slide them out like a pocket knife and read the various things on both sides of these plastic cards. So you basically had 6 cards worth of information, but it was really small. It was the size of 3 plastic cards. So I guess you could fit in a wallet, or maybe where you kept your fishing license or your tackle box or whatever. And it was all these fishing knots. And that was one of the first things I wrote to them, in probably an email, I guess, and said something to the effect of, I have websites. Can I advertise your thing on my websites? Will you send me one? And they sent me one. And I took a bunch of pictures of it and posted it on the websites. And that was one of my first achievements of like marketing or whatever, like whatever you want to call that, like entrepreneurship with a website.
That's really cool.
It was probably like 98.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, people don't think about that if you haven't been fishing your whole life, or if you've maybe taken a break for 20 years, because you do tend to forget things. But yeah, you might forget how to do that knot. So it's handy to have a little guide that kind of tells you, because you can't just tie knots like you do with a parcel. I mean, there's a certain way to tie a knot that's going to stay. I've lost a fish, because even though I knew better, I was just like, oh, I can't remember exactly how to do it. I'll just do this. And yeah, not slipped, lost a big trout. So
Yeah, monofilament won't slip. It doesn't bind or kink the same way.
yeah,
This reasons to use that woven, or what is that stuff called? The fishing line that is braided, the braided line, because that tie a little bit, or it's a little more accommodating to whatever knot you use.
yeah, oh yeah.
But the use of fishing knot, like you say, is because they can handle the stress. I mean, knots are math, and they've figured out how to find them so that they take the most stress possible from that, thread or line.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's all got to do with whether the line, how much friction it gets.
Yeah, because if you tie it the wrong way, it's gonna just it literally breaks it. It takes away.
Like a knot that normally would be good on a parcel that would hold fine with hemp twine is not going to work with monofilament. So, but yeah, I mean, like I say that. So that's kind of a handy.
Just a disclaimer: in Arizona, don't go around mailing things with hemp.
Yeah.
It might fly in Canada, but I wouldn't recommend it down here.
Yeah, you might want to check your twine, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, that knots are more important than you might think when you're fishing, even though it seems kind of nerdy or.
Well, and I find it probably the kind of thing, I would think it's the kind of thing you could give to a kid or someone who's just new to fishing to pass time if they're waiting for some unforeseen thing or just getting bored or having withdrawals from not having a phone around. It gives them a task. Maybe it's a goal to give a kid learn 2 more knots or learn a knot every time we go fishing, and you can do it without the card. I don't know, you get to do something. You get to tie the boat up, or you get to drive the boat back or something.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's really a good idea. And that's what it's good for as new fishermen. Like my buddy who fishes all the time, he doesn't even think about tying knots. He's just, and it's this perfect knot every time, So it's all practice. So, but it is important. So anyway, let's see what we've gone on about knots enough, I think.
Yeah, so that was our book of the day. Hopefully somebody out there, I mean, even if you don't got a book, it's good information to have. So something to look into. That will bring us on to our critter of the day. And I believe I said earlier it is fish. So that will take us back to this outdoorchat.us. And then you just go on over to the wildlife and we have Arizona fish. The first one. Oh, go ahead.
I just said the black crappie.
Oh, black crappie. The first one, black crappie. The black crappie. Head and back.
Black crappie.
Yeah, it's not a
crappie, mate. But then you'd spell it different. That's like crapple. Black crapple.
Oh,
it's like an apple, only with a cigar.
That's an I.
That's an I. And this is American.
Oh, okay.
Crappie. No. The black crappie, head and back heavily and irregularly spotted with black blotches, say that 10 times fast, on a silver olive background. Any of you guys have any experiences with the old black crappie?
I have not caught one.
Ever?
No.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I've caught black ones, probably not the black ones, but I've caught crappies a million times. They're great eating. They're sunfish. They're just nothing but a big round piece of meat that swims around. Easy to skin, easy to fillet, tastes good. No weird bones or anything. The only disadvantage is they're small, but that's usually, again, if we're talking new fishermen or kids or something that are learning, it's not a huge fillet, and it's nothing like it's a difficult fish to catch that you're letting somebody practice on. They're pretty plentiful, so all around good. And you can get, crappie do grow big. They're the kind of fish, if you let them be and they grow a lot, like they just keep eating, they'll just keep getting bigger. But bass will come along and eat them, and fish will eat them. Birds will eat them, and we'll eat them.
So they're not a very good survivor, but they must breed well.
Definitely like a giant minnow.
Do we have any pictures of them? Because I'm kind of thinking they sound like perch.
Let me see. I can look.
They're like a sunfish. They're like bluegill.
Well, I don't know what bluegill or sunfish look like either. We don't have those either.
Oh. That's weird. We got them definitely in Minnesota and places I've been in Canada. But anyway, that's panfish.
It kind of looks like a perch.
Elusive.
I guess perch, or when I think of perch, I think of something that's a little bit narrower, more like a bass than a panfish. But a perch is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, perch are one of those really numerous fish up in Canada that, you know, there used to be no limit on them. You could catch as many as you wanted. And then they changed the limit to, and they get to be about 3-4 pounds. Then they changed the limit to, I think it's 16 now. So they're okay, and they're good eating. They're not the best fish in the lake, but they're tasty. It's just they're so easy to catch. We don't generally catch them.
Yeah, they're not a sport fish in any means. They're no fun to catch because they're just right there and they're easy to catch.
Yeah, I think that sounds just like a perch.
I don't see them a lot in Arizona, though. Maybe we're just not catching them with our bass lures, but I've never really caught any in Arizona that I can think of.
Well, you just have to try a lure that's better for them and see what happens.
Yeah, well, they're not predators. They're not going after the stuff I'm throwing out there.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to throw like worms. I think worms are just best for everything. Yeah, okay. So we got to try it. We'll have to go out and see if we can catch any of them. But I wish I'd known about that lake. I was just I don't know. Must have been thinking of other things the last couple of years I was down because like that lake is almost a reasonable sized lake.
Yeah, but it's no fun if you don't have a boat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, well, that's why I really want to pick up a little boat to haul with me. 12-foot.
You better watch. It's going to turn into a boat chat. Bob starts talking boat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I better stop. All right, so let's move on.
Let's move on. This week in our shop section, I guess, shop topic, shops and restaurant, we will be talking about accommodations in Arizona. And this is a nice little place. It's it looks nice anyway. I haven't been there, but I have seen it and drove past it quite a few times. It's the Camping Ground of America, and it's right in East Mesa, Apache Junction. It's right down the street from me. It's pretty cool. And what they consider it an accommodation, I guess, for people that are touring the superstition area. I guess it's all combined into one area like they do the valleys. And one of the quotes on here, Teddy Roosevelt called Superstition Mountains the most beautiful paranormal nature has created. So I thought it was a pretty cool place, and I'm interested in. I've never been to any of those Campground of America places, and there's a few of them. So I've always been interested in them. Gives me an excuse to go there now.
I grew up going to those. My one grandparents would go to the same place every weekend, every summer, and we go there for a week. And then my other grandparents would get me probably for a week or more, and we would drive around and go different places. And they had for a little while, they had some kind of vehicle, I don't remember, and then a camper that was behind it, kind of not a fifth wheel though, just a regular old camper. It goes to a trailer hitch. And then we had a van that had a camper on the back of it, so kind of like what Bob's got now. And then they went to a giant bus looking, not a bus, but like the kind where you walk in and you're in it, like you're in, it doesn't hinge or anything, like a Winnebago. Like you're just, it's what am I trying to say? The cab and the driver's seats just pivot around, and they're like in the living room. Like it's just all one big room.
Yeah, I think that's a class D, maybe.
Well, whatever. So we drove around quite a bit, and in all of those situations. And then when me and him would go camping, it was in a pickup truck with a tent, and we'd still half the time go to a KOA. So we went to a KOA a lot. There was other, I won't call them franchises or whatever. There was other types of campgrounds, and I'm pretty sure there were members of those as well, because we weren't exclusively going to KOAs, but spent a lot of times in KOAs. So you've been to KOAs, Bob, right?
Oh yeah, they're. I guess one thing kind of
So
say
like
they're akin to going to a pancake place, you know, like a chain.
exactly like a chain. I was going to say like a Walmart of campgrounds. They're all the same. So they've got very similar features, and they're all, of course, the same branding and color schemes and stuff, and they all have sort of the same layout. Of course, they're all different because they're in different places. They got massively different resources around them and stuff. So, you know, it can't be the same if it's in trees and it's in the desert, or if it's in snow, or if it's in Florida. But they all have like a store, right? They have like, you can pretty much not have to go anywhere else, if I remember right. They didn't have gas, I don't think, did they?
No, I've been to ones though that had a gas station just like right out the.
Yeah, they'll be nearby. So
Yeah.
you can pretty much go, I'm going to buy a camper, I'm going to buy a KOA membership, and I'm done. I just can buy gas and stuff at the KOAs. It would probably not be the cheapest way to do it, but you could definitely not have to leave a KOA.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I mean they're really good when, you know, if for older couples. Oh, and I think it's the Class B is the one that you just walk into, and then Class A is the one that's actually a transport bus kind of thing. Anyway, that just
Okay, yeah. It definitely wasn't a full size, like an actual bus where it hit huge.
Yeah,
but it was,
so it was a B. It's like the ones like mine are a C.
you know, the one from Stripes?
Hmm?
The one from Stripes, you know that one?
Yeah, that's a Class B.
Like that, but a different shape. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Class B. Yeah, so yeah, they're really nice. I mean,
I didn't
so,
like it. That's one of the reasons I like the van, because I did not like having that huge monstrosity for camping.
well, it depends on how you're going to use it, right? Like the really big ones, the thing to do with them is you travel from point A to point B, and then you stay there for 2 months.
Oh no, that's not what they were doing. We were driving around for a week or more, just going from place to place.
Yeah, see, that's not so good for that. Like you get into the Class C's like mine, they're basically like driving around a cube van. So they're, you know, much easier to maneuver.
Okay, well now we're in the van chat. We do that on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. So let's get back to the KOA campgrounds over by Jimmy. You stayed in some campground in Phoenix, didn't you?
Yes, I think I couldn't get into the KOA, so I stayed this other one that was really fancy, and they were glad I was only going to be there one night.
They got standards.
Oh yeah, and I was not up to their standards. My gear was a little ragged for their taste, but they, you know, I still stayed the night and everything, but I found it to be a little pricey. And there seemed to be a lot of people that were, like I say, the long-term people. You know, they had some moving spots, but they seemed to be a lot of long-term. Now, this wasn't a KOA. This was a different, I can't even remember the name of it. But yeah, I was like, it was what I would pay for a week in Tucson for one night.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's location.
Oh, exactly. Like Mesa's, you know, a much more popular destination. That's why it's more money.
Well, that was episode number 3, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Talking about lakes.
Well, before we wrap this up and hand it over to Bob, real quick, our healthy tip. Don't skip breakfast, folks. Studies show that eating a proper breakfast is one of the most positive things you can do if you are trying to lose weight. So remember that.
So tomorrow we'll be talking about 4x4 and off-roading. The helicopter tours and spiders.
Ooh, definitely interesting.
Yick.
Spiders are just spiders. They eat other insects more than they bother people. So, well, I won't take that cherry. But just we were talking about fish. The Apache trout fish is only found in Arizona. The Apache trout. I'd like to go catch one of those. That'd be kind of cool. So anyway, on that, thanks everybody for watching and listening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.